Hello and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge, 6:15 a.m. Central Time. Would have started right at 6, but I wanted to see the news. All right, okay. Old GrandDad, introduced in 1882. No, this is not the original recipe. This is the current 80 proof. It's aged about 4 years. The older one was higher proof and aged longer. You know the story. Versus Evan Williams, green, not the green label, the black label, the flagship Evan Williams, Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, sour mash, oak aged for 5 years. To be a bourbon, it has to be aged in oak. It has to be in a new oak barrel. It can't be previously used, by the way. I like the feeling on this. It's like a matte finish on this label. And this is higher proof than that. This one is 86 proof. That's 80. Both from Kentucky. This is a Heaven Hill brand, introduced 1955, always been Heaven Hill. This is Beam-Suntory. Used to be the old GrandDad company. They got bought out. Right, let's see. Think of anything else. I did the green label, but that was no contest because and I hope my audio is okay. The Heaven Hill, I mean, the old GrandDad just has such a high rye content. You can't mistake that pepperiness. And I think it's going to be the same story here. Johnny Benavides says, "Good morning." Good morning, Johnny. Let's see. Let me take a listen to the playback. I mean, the old GrandDad just has such a high rye content. You can't mistake that. Okay, I'm going to jump off, and I'm going to jump off, and I'll be back on with the other format. Okay, be back in a moment. Hold on, folks. Be back on in a minute. Okay, back. Well, I tried using the Opera platform, but didn't make a difference. Same old choppy audio happens in Google Chrome. Okay, doesn't happen with Firefox, because Firefox won't even play the Hangouts anymore. It just says we're not dealing with this plugins issue and all of that. And ever since the plugins issue started, I noticed that problem. Okay, that Firefox wouldn't handle it. Okay, yeah, it's good. Now I just try. I figure, well, it's 6:50 in the morning. It's not like a huge amount of people are going to be watching. You know, you hate to do that, but there's no other way to test it, really. You just try to go live and see if it'll work, and then didn't. Okay. I think if Firefox would, I mean, I can do it through Internet Explorer, Microsoft Internet Explorer. It's fine, but it always gives me an alert. You've stumbled across some vintage web tech. Google Hangouts, vintage web tech. That's what Microsoft Edge says. So in order for it to work, you've got to use Microsoft Internet Explorer, our old platform. I mean, it works fine. The audio is always fine with Internet Explorer. It's just that if there's too much running, it'll kick you out of the Hangout. And I've seen other people get kicked out their Hangouts. Then you got to jump back in. It's very strange. But it is very true. And then I was thinking, it's my computer, but it's not. It's not, because it worked. Everything else works fine, you know. And it's fast. Everything's fine and fast. Fine and fast. Fine and fast. Get on Google Hangouts. It's not fast and it ain't fine. Johnny Benavida says 6:50 in the morning. It's 4:20 here in Los Angeles. I know, I believe you. I woke up at 3:50 this morning after going to Oktoberfest last night. Bill McIntosh says, morning, Ronald. Good morning, Bill. Now, John and Neela, he was over there hanging out with a drunken one. They were doing, when I got up at 3:50, I went, washed my face, brushed my teeth, you know. You need a gaming computer, Ronald. I do. But it'd probably still be the same problem, you know what I mean? Like, it would still have the choppy audio, and it would still have to feed it through this. I just think it would. Because I think it's their problem. It's not my problem. I didn't have the problem before until April when they reformatted their Hangouts. Right? I never had any problems. No audio. Nothing. I mean, some people would join occasionally and they didn't know how to control their audio or whatever, and it would be echo. But on my end, I never had any problems. So, all right. So that I got on the computer and I was checking my I always check my subscriptions in the morning, then I'll put on watch later anything that looks like I want to see it, like different beer reviews. And I saw that drunken one, and then we're doing Hangout. And apparently they had been on all night or whatever. They said, "Are you still awake?" I said, "Still awake. I'm just waking up." And I told her, "Good morning, guys. I'm just getting up." Oktoberfest was okay. It was too crowded. All right. It's darker amber, and this is lighter amber, okay? So right off the bat, the old GrandDad's darker. We walked in a race, a 2-mile race. Obviously, we didn't win. My partner showed up late. I told her, I said, "I had a feeling you were going to be late." And I was right. 2 minutes late. We started 2 minutes and 28 seconds late. 2 miles, no problem, but my hip was hurting. I've been having my hip hurting. I could have made it, but she said, "We can cut short." I didn't ask to cut it short. I could have suffered through it. She said something about her towels in the washing machine or something. She wanted to make sure they didn't. There's some problem when they'll get caught in there, hung up or something. She wanted to monitor it. And wait till she put them in the dryer or something. I don't remember. But something where she didn't want to leave it, but it made her late. She said, "But I got the beer coupons, the 2 beer coupons." So I drank the Optimator and the Spaten Dunkel. I just drank them right down. It was a little harsh, drinking them with not eating any food, honestly. They were on draft. They were good. But the Optimator is a little syrupy. And then a lady bumped into me with her purse, not paying attention, and splashed all over my hands. My hands were sticky. She said, "I am so sorry." I was thinking, it doesn't do me. I was just kind of stunned at first. Like, I couldn't understand what was going on. I had beer splashed all over my shirt, my pants. And the lady behind me said, "How rude." I said, "Yeah." So, but I just ate a little bit of sausage that she didn't finish. And I eat the German bread with the butter. That's it. That's all. And but it was so crowded. Their new location is so crowded. I mean, you can't move. I said, Now the partner that was with me, she says, "Well, it's because they had the race tonight." That could be true. It wouldn't normally be that crowded. Dennis Day said, "Hey Ron, you took me a minute to get in here." Oh, it took me. Things something wrong with my end. Either way, cheers, brother. It could be because usually it could just get right in, right? Dennis Tyler says, "Good morning, Ron. Off to work for a bit." Okay, have a good time at work. Johnny Benavidez says, "Never heard of Old GrandDad." Oh yeah, it's one of the old brands. You know, like I said, 1882. You can get it at any liquor store. Any liquor store is going to have it. They might have the Old GrandDad bonded as well. Might. And they might have the Old GrandDad 114 proof. I haven't tried that one. I don't know. That's kind of when someone bumps into me and says, "I'm so sorry," I always reply with, "Don't be sorry, be careful." Right. She wouldn't have bumped into me. First she tries to get through the line. There's a very long line for the food. Okay. I understand it's crowded. You got to make a pathway through the line, but don't come charging through the line basically and swinging your big purse around and you hit my. I was being very careful with the beer and I hadn't sloshed and spilled any of it. So I was really irritated. It's like the people that drive in the left lane on a 4-lane highway going slow and they're like, "I have this right." No, you don't have the right. First of all, it's rude. Secondly, in Louisiana, it's against the law. Okay. It's against the law to cruise in the left lane. Okay. So what if somebody's trying to get to the hospital and their grandmother or their child is dying? They're trying to get to the hospital and you're blocking the highway because you have a right because you're obnoxious. No, you don't have that right and you're stupid. I'm sorry. It's amazing how stupid people can be. I think half the wrecks in America are caused by left lane slow drivers. I really believe that. I don't even think, I've been saying this for 20 years. There's really not much traffic in America. I mean, with wrecks, yeah, but you wouldn't have the wrecks if you didn't have the left lane driving, and most traffic is caused by left lane slow driving. If the police would focus on that more than speeders, you would probably have the number of car wrecks just plummet. I mean, of course, you got the internet. They're using the internet, right? They're not at a laptop or a desktop, but they're on the phone while they're driving, looking at the phone. Can't tell you how many times I drive and I see people looking down at their phone. I'm like, wow, daredevil. You're just going to crash into something and die so that you could look at Facebook. I would tell the police, but I always see them looking at their phones too while they drive. So then I paid $5 to get into Oktoberfest. Now I thought she had a free pass for me. Now you say, "Oh, you're cheap." No, you don't understand. I wasn't going to pay any money to go because it was inside of the city limits of New Orleans, and I'm on a boycott. I have a boycott going. I'm not going to pay any money anywhere in the city because of the removal of the 4 monuments in the spring. And it's not just me boycotting, a lot of people. Now, of course, Ye Old College Inn on Carrollton, of course I'm going to go there because they were leading the charge, one of the leaders of the charge to keep the monuments from being removed. These beautiful artistic historical monuments. So I've messed up twice. Once I bought nachos at the Tulane game. Wasn't thinking $10. Oh, I'm paying $10 and breaking the boycott. I felt bad later. Then last night, while I was trapped last night, I'm with the person. What was I going to tell her? No, doing the boycott. Well, actually, you know what? I didn't even think about it either. That wasn't on my mind. I don't know how I could have wiggled out of it. So it's $15. And I've written letters to people like, what is your position on the removal of the monuments in the spring of 2017? If I don't get a response, they're still under the ban. They're under the boycott. Tulane University told me we don't take a stand on it because it doesn't directly affect us. Well, in a way, it is going to indirectly affect them because I will no longer support them. I'm not going to send them any money, and I'm not going to buy any more tickets from them because they're within the city limits. So then Tulane can ask Robert E. Lee and PGT Beauregard and Jefferson Davis to send them money. I'll get my tickets on the street for $5. Okay. Now that's the way I can run that. Now you say, well, that's spending money in New Orleans. I don't know where those tickets were procured. They could have been bought outside the city limits. I know that's kind of like wiggling around it, but it's not directly helping a business within the city limits, especially when they tried to dodge the issue. But anytime I go to a new restaurant, I'll write them a letter and ask, what is your position on this issue? If I receive no response, the restaurant gets no recognition on Facebook, and they get no review on TripAdvisor, Yelp, or Google Maps. They get no recognition. They don't exist. Now I'm saying, you say, but it's a boycott. Why are you going to restaurants? Because back in 2012, me and some friends started this project to go to every seafood restaurant in the New Orleans area. It's not fair to them to tell them, well, we can't go to these 10 places left because of the boycott. They wanted to try them, so they're grandfathered in, if you look at it like that. But they'll never be revisited, whether they're wonderful or not, if I don't get a satisfactory answer. Now, if I get a good answer, then I'll go to those websites on Facebook, you know, the groups that are pro-monument and patriotic, you know, Southern, pro-Southern, whatever, these groups that I'm in, and they're big, you know, they got a lot of members. And then I'll say, look, this particular business supports our movement, and, you know, they shouldn't be punished. So then people will support them. Okay. What is your favorite beer there? I don't have a favorite beer. I drink so many different ones. People ask me that often, what's your favorite beer? I just don't have one. All right, now, these breathed enough for me telling all these little stories. Okay, I know this is, I already looked too, because it's darker amber. I can tell by the aroma it's old GrandDad. It's just higher, it's more peppery. I told you it wasn't going to be any kind of contest. And this is sweeter and milder and lighter. It's a 3-year, 5-year whiskey. It might be aged a year longer than this one, but it's just no contest. This one is obviously higher rye. It's peppery in the nose. Now let's go with the taste. So if you want a whiskey that's peppery, you know, go eat some rye bread, all right? And you'll notice what I mean. This rye grain, it's a type of grain, has a pepperiness. Why that is, I don't know. I'm not a herbologist. Ask my great uncle, William Oban, Billy Oban. He'll tell you he's a horticulturist. He graduated from LSU with a degree in horticulture. He can tell you why it's peppery. He's 91 years old. Okay. Now this one over here is woodier and more char. All right. So if you like the wood, the char, the wood, the char, a little vanilla, a little flavor of what we commonly associate with whiskey, the Evan Williams will be fine. Now the Evan Williams is very mild. Now how anybody could drink Evan Williams and talk about it's too harsh. I can't stand it. Wow, this is too harsh? I don't think so. It's a little minty. If you want to drink some harsh, I mean to say bold. Harsh, what am I talking about? If you want to drink something bold, drink Jack Daniels. Now, then you'll talk about, wow, this is really hard. Bold. I'm correcting myself because we got well lectured on the Jack Daniels tour by the tour guide when somebody said, man, I don't know about Jack Daniels. It's really harsh. Hey, the tour guide's like, hey, we don't say harsh here. We say bold. I said, oh, well. I like how y'all frame everything. It's kind of a fun tour because they just frame everything in this little funny context. Like, I say, so then y'all take all the barrels and you blend the whiskey. Oh, no, no. No, he said, no, 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 we don't blend anything. We mingle it. He said, blend is when you put something in a blender. You want to make a cocktail, you use a blender. We mingle the whiskey. I said, oh, you mingle it. Okay. Gotcha. They don't age it either. They don't age their whiskey. They mellow it. And they said they don't give a date statement because they got to pay taxes on it if they give a date statement. He said something about each year that it's aged, there's a tax or something. So, but if you don't declare an age, you don't have to pay a tax. I don't know if this guy knew what he was talking about. He claimed he did. He said he worked there for 30 years. He was about my age since high school. I said, oh, okay. But then some of the stuff he said he got wrong. So I don't know. I corrected him. He said, you know, he goes in this big long talk, you know, for a whiskey to be a bourbon, you know, I like the tour guide, but you say, no, you're mocking him. Well, I mock myself. People mock me. I'm not mocking him. I told you I like the tour. But it wasn't perfect. What is perfect? Not too many things, right? But he said, you know, all whiskey is not bourbon. And I'm thinking, well, okay, people should know this. But I guess if you're just a common person, right? Not one of these internet people that like hobbyists like me that's always looking junk up on the internet, you might not know. So, and I've had people ask me that, what's the difference between whiskey and bourbon? Well, whiskey is a bourbon is a type of whiskey. He said it has to be aged at least 4 years and goes on and on. I said, I thought bourbon only had to be aged 2 years in the barrels to be considered bourbon. No, no, it's 4, he says. Then you pause for a minute. Maybe it's 2. I'm not sure. I have to look that up. I'm thinking, I love some Jack Daniels after it rests in some ice for a few minutes. Take the bite, the boldness right off. Right, yeah, we don't say bite, harsh. You don't use those terms, please. Please, don't. But it was funny to go on that tour because he jumped, these Scottish guys, they were asking kind of probing questions, and you could see he was getting more and more irritated. They're like businessmen from Scotland. They were probably on a business trip, and they were wearing their like business shirts, you know, the long sleeve shirts without the tie. You know, nobody wears a tie today, except for me. And it was like they were waiting to like start something, and I'm watching. You know, I'm just watching. Okay, that tour was long. It was like 2 hours. It better be. You paid $17. And you got less whiskey than this at the end of the tour, 3 or 4 tastings. What a ripoff. Barton, go to Barton. It's free. Doesn't cost any money. The tour is just as long. And they give you big glasses of a lot of different whiskey, which is funny because people are driving. And they say, look, your transportation is your issue. We bear no responsibility for any of this. They tell you that while they're pouring it. You know, you do what you want. Then the guy's like, you want to try some vodka? I said, no, I don't think so. Or go to Buffalo Trace, also owned by Barton Sazerac. And they're generous. They don't charge any money, and they're just letting you try everything. They're more laid back, like they're not as buttoned up. You know, Jack Daniels is more scripted. They're like all this folksy, hey guys, tour, you know, tour guide. It's like scripted folk with all these little like jokes, countryman jokes. And I'm shaking my head like, ugh. How long did you have to practice that? The guy on the Buffalo Trace tour, he's like about 67, 68 years old. He kind of put on that little act, but he had kind of a rough edge about him. Like put on a little folksy thing. But I said to myself, boy, I bet he'd get mad at home if you crossed him. I wouldn't want to. I bet he's a barrel of ass to live with. I don't know, it just seemed like that. I know some old guys like that. You know, they're kind of like whimsical and folksy, but you know that deep down they ain't that nice. Okay, but he's getting paid, so he'll be folksy, you know what I mean? But I really hate that kind of down-home faux friendliness. It really irks me. Um, but those Scottish guys, man, they were waiting for their chance. So then we were in this like museum room or something, part of the barrel house. And it's, like I said, that tour is extensive. And they're talking about barrels, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I know they're training really much, besides all that whimsical folksiness, fake Abner, little Abner fakeness, they must train, protect the brand at all costs. If somebody comes after Jack Daniels, you go all out. We're not going to get on you for being sharp with a customer. You protect the brand. So the Scottish guy's like, well, why would that matter if it's a fresh barrel? And the tour guy said, huh? Oh, by the way, this is old GrandDad, I'll bet. Yeah, did I mix? No, I don't remember. Ah, yeah, awa chihuahua. No, I have not been drinking except coffee. Okay, well, you want to just forget this and go back to the story time? What's up, Ryan? What time is it on there? 6:41 a.m. I make no claims to any sort of whiskey expertise. You say, what is your claim to whiskey expertise? I only claim to drink it and taste it. I don't claim to know it. This is Evan Williams, and that's old GrandDad. And what was I just ranting and raving about? How it was no contest, and you could never mistake that high rye mash bill, and I get them mixed up. Oh my goodness, I have to pour some more. You say, you drunk, you alcoholic. You're just trying to, you set that up so you could drink more this morning. No, that's not true. I'm doing this because I'm confused. I'm scared. But the Scottish guy says, why does it matter how old the wood is, if it's new or not? We have Scotch, and we use those barrels for 100 years. Reuse them and reuse them and reuse them for 100 years. And we just buy used bourbon barrels. So why does new and have to matter? Well, the tour guy got mad then. He said, because that's what makes bourbon. Of course, then they tell you that Jack Daniels is not a bourbon. They spend an hour telling you why it's a bourbon, and then how suddenly it isn't a bourbon, but it really is a bourbon. But that's another conversation. But he says, well, he says, you don't even put Scotch in a barrel anyway. You put them in a cask. A cask is what you put a dead man in, a casket. The Scottish guy said, what? He said, and another thing, Scotch, that stuff adds color. You add color into your whiskey to make it look dark. The Scottish guy had nothing to say. Oh, you're offending me, you know. And the other guy was like, you know, I'm offended, Tay. But the tour guy was right. They do add coloring to make it look brown, or they're allowed to add coloring. It's not a law. You can add coloring. You can cheat. You don't have to disclose it. Bourbon cannot add coloring. Once you add coloring, it ain't a bourbon. Once you charcoal filter it, it's still a bourbon. I don't care what Jack Daniels says. They claim that since filter, what am I saying? They call it something else, charcoal mellowing or charcoal whatever. It's filtered, all right. But they claim that since they drip the bourbon through a charcoal filter, that it's no longer a bourbon. It's a Tennessee whiskey. Bull. That's bull. But I didn't want to argue with the dude. You could say that Tennessee whiskey is a type of bourbon, because look at the United States Tax and Trade Bureau regulations for bourbon. Filtering is not in any way mentioned. Filtering neither qualifies nor disqualifies it as a bourbon. It has nothing to do with the legal standards of bourbon. That's a fact. But boy, he got angry with those Scottish guys, and he put them on the shutdown. Okay, but the cut and dry of this is not story time. The cut and dry of this video is two things. First thing, I still can't use Opera or Google Chrome to do these Hangouts because then the audio is choppy. Like I heard it myself. Da, 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 da. And then I hear people doing Hangouts, and their audio is like chop, 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 chop. And I'll ask them, what are you using, Google Chrome? Oh, well, yeah. I said, well, you ever tried Internet Explorer for these Hangouts? Well, no. Well, why don't you try it? Maybe audio wouldn't be so choppy. It's like they won't try it. It was like, whoa, why would it hurt? Right? I mean, what difference would it make? I mean, they're just different browsers. Try it. Might work. Second thing, I was terribly overconfident because I couldn't tell them apart. So I'm shamed. I'm embarrassed. Let me take a little bit more taste. I'm going to drink both of these whole bottles now. No, I'm just joking. I got to save it. I have to save it for the examinations. Yeah, well, you know, Evan Williams does have rye in it. And I guess it's higher than I first believed. But boy, I'll tell you where you really would run into trouble. If you were trying to do Buffalo Trace, I mean, if you were trying to do Old GrandDad, which is high rye mash bill, Beam-Suntory, against any Buffalo Trace or Barton bourbon, because they're almost all high rye. Like that's a Buffalo Trace thing, you know what I mean? They're like big into rye. They must have some investments in rye farms or something. So they're gonna really trip. That can really trip you up. You see? Yes. Okay. Yeah, this one's peppery. I don't know. Like the coach said, you think you know, but you don't know, and you'll never know. Well, in my case, I might know one day if I practice more. See, this is practice. You're getting to watch practice. Now, the viewer might say, but why would I want to? I don't know. You could or couldn't. You know, you're not forced to watch this. I'm subscribed to literally hundreds of channels. And when I see something I don't want to watch, guess what? I just don't watch it. I just keep on scrolling to find something I want to see. But I don't unsubscribe because tomorrow I might have something I do want to watch. See what I mean? So that's why I always subscribe to everybody. I subscribe to so many people because I want to see if they have something I want to look at, right? Makes sense? Makes sense. Okay. I failed, okay? Hey, you know what? Is every practice good? Like you know, if you went to an NBA team's practice, would every practice be good? Does a coach always say that? No. Sometimes a coach will say this was a good practice. Well, that's telling me that the other ones aren't good. Ron Cohen says, hello, Ron. He says, I love how you drink so early in the morning. No, I'm not drinking. I'm tasting, see. Just tasting. I had some natural ice today. It was good. Ate like 5 slices of pizza. Well, okay. Sound like you might want to get some counseling. All right. Anyway, I bet you were listening to the Carpenters last night, huh? Yeah. You listen to those Carpenters albums, you're gonna go crazy. Okay. So I failed. Like Allen Iverson said, practice. We talking about practice. We're not talking about the game. We're not talking about the game. We're talking about practice. See? So you're watching a video, and we're not talking about the game. This is not the game. This is just practice. Me seeing if I could tell these apart. And in this case, I did not. The beauty of glass and the wonderful thud of plastic. I mean, does anything have the cachet of a plastic alcohol bottle? I mean, who wants to hear that elegant tinkling of a glass when you could hear the dull thud of plastic, right? Okay, thank you for watching this catastrophic failure of this, with fascinating stories, though. I mean, I know it's a gift. I can't help it. With fascinating stories about distillery tours, okay? And join me maybe tomorrow, and it won't be a Dawnbusters, I don't think, unless I get up really early, and I don't think I will. When I do Evan Williams against another bourbon, will I be able to tell them apart? Time will tell. The world may never know. Hopefully the world will know. Thanks for watching this video production.